Chapter 23. Mrs. Tittlebottom's Situation. Gothel, Gothel! What in heaven's happened? It was Mrs. Tittlebottom. She was tottering into the field, kicking broken bones and thick white ash as she rushed over to Gothel. I don't know, Mrs. Tittlebottom. Here, take my arm, lady. Let me see to those cuts. She examined Gothel's face. I think I should call the doctor to come around the house, but I don't know if the message boy will be by this afternoon. Maybe I'd better go into town myself. Gothel was heartened by Mrs. Tittlebottom's concern. I'm sure I will be fine under your expert care, Mrs. T. Let's not bother the doctor. Gothel could see Mrs. Tittlebottom eyeing her. She couldn't tell if Mrs. Tittlebottom was looking at the cuts or noticing that her face was younger now. She wasn't even sure herself how young she looked. She clutched the flower pot as they went into the kitchen, where she was instructed to sit down. Put that plant down, Gothel, and let me look at you. Mrs. Tittlebottom went to a pantry to find her tinctures and cotton strips. She soaked one of the cotton strips in a deep reddish-brown liquid and held it in her fingers, hesitating. I'm sorry, lady, but this is going to hurt. Mrs. Tittlebottom was by no means a gossip, but her sister was. It wasn't long before the entire town heard about the strange happenings at Lady Gothel's. After the odd sisters left, Gothel had sequestered herself in her library, and Mrs. Tittlebottom was at her wits' end trying to get Gothel to come out for her meals, or for any reason at all. Mrs. Tittlebottom confided her concerns to her sister, who in turn told the most notorious gossip in town. And before she knew it, Mrs. Tittlebottom had a full-blown situation on her hands. Lady Gothel, please come out. We have a situation. Gothel opened the door to her library. What is it? She asked. Her hair was wild, and her face was smudged with red and purple powder. Oh, look at you, Lady Gothel. Sorry to disturb you. And look at you, Mrs. T. You're wearing spectacles. Mrs. Tittlebottom blushed. Yes, my sister got them for me. Speaking of my sister, lady, well, you see, she came by today. Mrs. Tittlebottom was clearly distressed, and she was having trouble arriving at the point. Yes, you said there was a situation, asked Gothel as patiently as she could. She wondered how she must look. Her hands were stained with magical powders, and she hadn't changed her clothes in more days than she could count. My lady, would you please come into the kitchen with me? Conversations like this are always better over a cup of tea. So I have been told. Gothel laughed. She remembered the odd sister saying something very much along those lines. Of course, Mrs. T. Let's go into the kitchen. In the kitchen, Mrs. Tittlebottom held out a chair for Gothel. Here you go, my lady. Sit. Gothel wished the old woman would just get on with it. But she reminded herself to be patient with her. She realized her cook was rather distressed. Here, Mrs. T, it looks as if you should sit down. You look piqued. I'll go get the tea. Gothel went to the cupboard and pulled out 2 teacups and the teapot that matched. It was a set from her home in the dead woods. There's only 5 cups. What happened to the 6? She asked absent-mindedly. Mrs. Tittlebottom looked up. What's that, lady? Gothel realized she hadn't meant to say that aloud. I'm sorry. I just noticed that there were only 5 cups to this set. There used to be 6. Never mind. I'm sorry. You had something important to tell me. Mrs. Tittlebottom got up to see what set Gothel was talking about. Oh, yes. The Sam Haines set. The silver ones with the black skulls painted on them. Your sister Ruby said she broke one when she was having her tea in the garden. Gothel wondered if that was true. She was, in fact, almost sure Ruby or one of Ruby's sisters had actually stolen the cup. Come to think of it, there were quite a few little things from around the house that are missing. Never mind, Mrs. T. Sit down and tell me what the matter is. There's no other way than to say it straight out, lady, she said, clearly trying to be brave. Well, you know that is what I prefer. Please continue. Yes, well, it seems the kingdom has sent soldiers here to find some flower they think once belonged to the queen of the dead. What? What will become of my sisters? Gothel was panicked. How am I going to get my sisters' bodies out of here? Your sisters, lady? Never mind, we have to leave, said Gothel, running into her library and grabbing her mother's most important books. Lady Gothel, stop! What is it? Called Mrs. Tittlebottom, tottering after her. What's the matter? What is it? What is it? Mrs. T, soldiers are coming here to destroy my home. They think I'm the queen of the dead. They're going to burn this place down. I suggest you pack anything you have of value this moment. Lady, calm down, please. Listen to me. I have an idea. Now, I don't want to know anything about what you have down in that cellar, or your library, or what you get up to with those sisters of yours, but I do know you're a good girl. You've always been very kind to me, and you don't deserve to lose your home. It seems to me all they want is that flower. If we give them the flower without a fuss, I think they will take it without much kerfuffle. We can plant it outside, pretend we never even knew it was there, said Mrs. Tittlebottom, with a resolve that surprised Gothel. Better yet, why don't you steal yourself away down in that cellar when they come? I will pretend to be the lady of the house, and let them find the flower without a fuss. No, Mrs. Tittlebottom, I can't give them the flower. Gothel snatched the flower pot in her hands and squeezed it tightly. I can't give it up. I can't. I don't think we have a choice, lady. Mrs. Tittlebottom put out her hand. Now give it to me, and I will put it out in that field with the others. There has to be another way. But Gothel was worried the old woman was right. I don't understand why they need it. They destroyed my home, taking the last one. I thought the queen was healed. The queen is ill again. Her pregnancy caused her to relapse. But they have a flower. Why do they need another? Well, she's eaten the other one, hasn't she? Bloody fools! Gothel was incensed. She felt trapped. She couldn't just leave with the flower. The soldiers might find her sisters in the cellar. They might find them there anyway, even if Mrs. Tittlebottom gave them the flower willingly. Gothel didn't know what to do. She wanted to run. She wanted to pack the old woman and her sisters on a wagon and leave, but she knew they would eventually find her. They would hunt her down as long as she had the flower in her possession, burning every home she ever made for herself. Maybe she should have let the odd sisters take the flower. At least then it would have been safe. Mrs. Tittlebottom was right. There was no other choice. You're right, of course. We will let them find the flower, she said, pushing the flower pot toward the old woman. You'd better get down to the cellar now, lady. Don't make a peep. Now? Asked Gothel, looking out the window to see if she could see the soldiers coming. Are they coming right now? Yes, my lady, please. Now go. Are you sure you're going to be okay dealing with this on your own? Gothel was squinting, trying to see down the road. Do you have time to get the flower in the field before they arrive? I do. Now don't worry yourself over old Mrs. Tittlebottom. I can handle any soldiers that come knocking on this door. Believe me. Now off with you. Thank you, Mrs. T. Get down there and don't come out until I come for you, said Mrs. Tittlebottom with a quick kiss on Gothel's cheek. Down you go. Off with you. Gothel went into the cellar. She hadn't been down there since she first moved to the house, where she had frantically searched for her mother's blood. Gold coins were scattered all over the floor, and the chests were open, just as she had left them, and her sisters' coffins were there, just as they had been since they moved in. She hadn't seen her sisters' bodies since she left the dead woods. She was afraid to look at them, afraid they had started to decay, afraid to see their faces, afraid they would wake up and accuse her of failing them. She crept up on their coffins like she was trying not to wake her sleeping sisters, and opened the lids. The sleeping beauties were side by side, still as lovely as ever, still young, still fair, but dreadfully pale. It was as if all the color had been leached from their bodies. Even Primrose's beautiful red hair had turned white. They looked like ghosts made of opaque glass, like fragile replicas of the sisters she loved. The oddest feeling came over her. It was as if her sisters were there, but not there. She couldn't express it any better. To see them there, but not feel them, was the most disturbing thing she'd ever experienced. Her heart broke as if it was breaking for every loss she had ever had right there in that moment, and she thought she might die from the pain of it. She missed her sisters so much. She should have been trying to find a way to resurrect them all that time. It had been years since she woke up in the dead woods from her long slumber, and she chided herself for not having spent the time trying to find a way to bring them back. And if those wretched odd sisters hadn't made me sleep for hundreds of years, I might have brought them back by now. So many years wasted. Oh, my poor sisters. I'm so sorry. I promise I will find a way to bring you back. She put her hands on her sisters, and something happened. Her hands started to glow, just a little, like the Rapunzel flower, and the light was spreading into her sisters like cascading fireworks. The light started to grow within them, causing them to glow just a little, making them look more alive, the color returning to their faces. Hazel, Primrose, are you there? They didn't answer. They were quiet and still. They were dead. But the power of the flower was doing something. Gothel looked down at her hands and saw that they were old and withered again, like bone covered in skin. Her sisters had taken all of the Rapunzel's healing powers from her. She ran to the chest to see if one of her mother's mirrors was packed away and found one she didn't recognize among some of her mother's other things. She gasped. Her hair was entirely silver, and her face was withered and gray like an old apple doll. She was so much older than she'd even realized. If she didn't get to the flower now, she would die. She went to the cellar door to listen for voices. Maybe she could sneak out and get the flower before the soldiers came, but she heard Mrs. Tittlebottom talking with someone in the kitchen. Oh, a glowing flower, you say? Well, I suppose you will find it out there with the other wild flowers. I sometimes see something glowing in the field out there, but I just thought it was fireflies. You're more than welcome to go out and look for it, kind sirs. By all means, if the king wants it, he is welcome to it. I'm just an old lady surrounded by beautiful flowers. What's one flower to me if the king wants it? The soldiers laughed. You don't seem like a demon witch of the dead to us. Mrs. Tittlebottom laughed with them. My goodness, no! Whatever gave you that idea? We were told the Queen of the Dead took refuge here with the last of her flowers, but clearly that information isn't correct. Mrs. Tittlebottom laughed again. Imagine me, Queen of anything! She was laughing heartily until she saw an old beggar woman creeping in the far end of the field near the sea cliff. Oh! What is it? Asked the king's soldiers. Oh, nothing, dears. It just occurred to me that you're likely hungry and thirsty after your long journey. Please sit down and have a slice of hazelnut cake and some tea. Oh, we can't, ma'am, but thank you, said the lanky soldier. He seemed to be all arms and legs, like a giant friendly scarecrow with straw yellow hair. Oh, I insist, good sirs. The flower will still be there when you're done. I can't send you back to the castle with empty stomachs. What will the king think of poor old Mrs. Tittlebottom if she sends his soldiers back with rumbling stomachs? Mrs. Tittlebottom took out the cake tin and opened it. Now, just look at this cake and tell me you don't want a slice. It's chocolate hazelnut. Maybe just one slice, the lanky soldier said, taking a seat at the kitchen table. Can we manage some for my men as well? Oh, yes, and some tea. You can't have cake without tea. I'll put the kettle on. Now sit yourselves down right here while I make it. She sat them with their backs to the window, facing the field, where she saw a woman hovering over the glowing flower, its light becoming more pronounced as she spoke to it. Then the woman, old and haggard, saw Mrs. Tittlebottom looking at her, so she quickly hid her face in the hood of her cloak and covered the flower with a basket. Now who is that? Muttered Mrs. Tittlebottom, doubting it was Gothel as she had feared. Who is what, ma'am? Asked the guards, turning round to see what she was looking at. Do you know who that is, ma'am? Mrs. Tittlebottom shook her head as the soldiers ran out of the kitchen door to the field. It might be someone trying to take the flower, she yelled, hoping, if it was Gothel, she would hear her and hide herself away before the soldiers reached her. Within moments, Mrs. Tittlebottom could see the light of the flower coming nearer and nearer as the soldiers made their way back to the house. Ah, so this is what all the fuss is about, asked Mrs. Tittlebottom. I never even knew I had it in my garden. The soldiers seemed to be eyeing her differently than they had before. Now that you have your flower, would you still like that piece of cake? She asked, pretending she hadn't noticed a change in their demeanor. Who was that in the field? Asked one of the soldiers. He was a hairy beast of a man, a bit like a great bear, with one long eyebrow. I wouldn't know, dear, she said offhandedly. Come back inside and have your tea. And you wouldn't be trying to distract us with cake and tea so someone could take the flower right out from under us, would you? Trying to hoard it for yourself. he asked, giving her the eye. My goodness, no! I don't even know what the flower does or why the king would want it. I didn't even know I had it. Is that so? Asked the hairy soldier, but before she could answer, they were distracted by a terrible crash. What was that? Asked the lanky blonde soldier, looking toward the cellar. Mrs. Tittlebottom started to panic. Oh, just the rats. I have the cellar locked up until I can get the rat catcher here. They're terrible, those rats. I'm afraid to go down there. The soldiers were still giving her the eye. Perhaps we'd better go down there and check, the lanky soldier said, but Mrs. Tittlebottom changed the subject. So, this is the flower, is it? The source of all this fuss. So tell me, what does it do? The soldier clutched it a little tighter as Mrs. Tittlebottom went near him. It heals ailments, including old age, he said, looking at Mrs. Tittlebottom's heavily lined face. I wish I'd known I had it then. I might have used it on myself, she said, laughing, and the soldier softened to her once again. I don't know anything about magical flowers, but I do know a thing or two about regular ones, and I know they can die unless they're potted properly. Let me go get you something to transport the flower. I won't be more than a minute. We don't want it dying before you get it to the queen. Thank you, ma'am, said the soldier, clearly feeling foolish for suspecting such a sweet elderly woman. She returned with a flower pot filled with soil. Now, let me take care of that, she said as she snatched the flower out of the soldier's hands and proceeded to tuck the flower's roots gently into the soft soil. This will do fine, she said, hoping they had forgotten about that noise they'd heard in the cellar. Now, who wants a piece of old Mrs. Tittlebottom's famous chocolate hazelnut cake?